Seems to be good. Hello, everybody. I am live here today with Lukas Resheske. I believe that's how I pronounce his name, but he'll correct me in a minute. Resheske. Okay. Where's that? Okay, quickly before we get into the interview, where's that from?
Prussia.
Prussia.
We no longer exist. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a Prussian last name.
There you go, Edie. It's a Prussian last name, and he, apart from being a Prussian with a really difficult name, he is a brilliant copywriter, brilliant strategist, and a brilliant overall person. I'm super excited for this, and without further ado, I'm just gonna say hello to you, man. How are you?
Good, good. It's interesting doing the new live technology with different videos in here. I don't think I'm going to have the live video up on my screen when we do this though. Good, because it's kind of duplicating everything and making the noise all weird. But
That's right. What might be easy? Just grab your phone out and put it up in front of you. You can see what's going on if you turn the sound off.
because it's kind of duplicating everything. Yeah, let's try to find a way to mute it.
That's so good.
I'm a copywriter, not a technical person, so
Exactly. This is why you have technical people like me helping out with the fun stuff.
there you go. Yep. Like I often say, I'm a writer, not a mather. So, all right. Let's see if we can't get this set up here, all muted and stuff, and then yeah. So it's this. We're live. This is your show. Happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and answer any questions from the chat. Obviously.
Okay, let's start with a question that I guess Shanks asked yesterday. Can you tell us a little bit more about? Actually, give people background first. Who are you? What have you done? What's your journey to get to where you are now?
Yeah, so kind of roundabout. I first started in internet marketing after realizing that I didn't want to be a full-time military officer. So I was in college. I was going through the RTC program to go be, commissioned officer and do that whole route. I thought that would be my life. And then I met my wife, and I started realizing that there was more to life than, going off and fighting wars in foreign countries. So I kind of started exploring other options. I didn't know what I would do with my life, and I found entrepreneurship. I found the newsletter Early to Rise, written by Craig Ballantyne, and started, Michael Masterson, Mark Ford. So that was my first foray. That's kind of where I learned about copywriting for the first time. That's also where I got introduced to one of my mentors, Yannick Silver. I went to his event. I met Robert Hirsch and Mike Dillard from the Elevation Group at that event, and kind of walked up to them and just said, "Hey, your area code is the same as my area code on your phone number," because I was stalking and listening to the guy you just talked to, so we should hang out. Ended up getting a job from him down at the bar. And then a few months later, moved down to Austin, Texas to work with them at the Elevation Group. Learned a lot from Mike and Robert there, just about everything, business and copywriting and marketing and all that kind of stuff. And when I was done there, I started my own business, kind of jumped from mobile apps to Facebook marketing to sales funnels, and never really got that that feeling of satisfaction from it, because I felt like some piece was missing. And I started realizing that what Mike had told me in the very beginning was true. Like, copywriting was the thing, right? If you knew copywriting, you could get everything else figured out. You could write a sales letter to make enough money to hire a bunch of other people. It was one of those things where it was truly the linchpin. It was the deeper thing. So that's my history in a nutshell, I guess.
More of a sense, copywriting is the linchpin, but
yeah.
What's the but we're thinking about here? Because you kind of had this discussion with you earlier that whilst copywriting in and of itself is amazing, if you don't understand the background behind it, it's not that great.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing that a lot of people kind of miss about copywriting in general. They think that I actually asked this at a private mastermind just a couple last weekend, maybe 2 weekends ago. And I asked people what they thought copywriting was. And for people who didn't know what copywriting was at all, they thought it was like headlines and blog titles and things like that, right? That was copywriting for them.
You mean use a formula and copy and paste everything?
Right. Yeah. Or, right. that was what they had. But those are the people who didn't really know what direct response was. And then the people who knew what direct response was, they thought that copywriting was kind of like this mastery, this sense of like arcane knowledge that, you know, only a very, very few people had. And it was, you know, just like something that somebody else did, and it was this alchemical thing. So neither of those two things are correct. Copywriting is basically the art and science of persuading people in print. So that's it. In order to get to that level of understanding that you're persuading people in print, you realize that it's not about templates, it's not about headlines, it's not about formulas. It's about understanding deeply what the market wants and how they think and why they want those things, and then being able to communicate with them in a clear way that they trust and like. So that's copywriting. And once you get that, you start realizing that, oh crap, that's business. Like, that's 0 to 50 million. That's 0 to 100 million. That's, you know, if you're in the startup phase and if you're bootstrapping, whatever you're at, that is business up until you reach like major branding levels. And that was what was exciting for me. And that's why I kind of went fully dedicated into copywriting and learning everything I could about it.
Okay. So how do you learn everything about copy? Because it's such a complex subject. You've got people who do email copywriting, you've got people who do copywriting for sales letters, you've got the old school direct response guys, you've got this new school internet marketers and emails and all this kind of stuff. It's complex and confusing and all that stuff for people coming through. They're all looking for a solution. And I guess that's where you've said they're all confused and they're not sure what to do.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people, so forgive my military background on this one because I'm going to try and put it in that frame of reference.
Love it.
A lot of people come into business as a tactical thing. You know, they're trying to pick a very specific tactic for a very specific problem that helps them in that situation, but without any overall context. In a military sense, you can be an excellent tactician, email copywriter, headline copywriter, hook, you know, person, that kind of thing, and still lose every single time because you don't understand strategy and you don't understand principles. So I go from the top down. I go principles, strategy, tactics. A lot of people like to sell tactics, then maybe some strategy, and eventually principles. That's the desire. And people are starting from here and wanting to go up like that. But my brain, I always say I'm not really a true-born entrepreneur. Because, you know, entrepreneurs are action takers. They're like the 9 quick starts on Colby. You know, they just go, right? They take the first nugget of information and just run with it. And I love that about them. But I'm a 9 fact finder. I'm the guy who goes out and finds information and likes complex things. So the principles are up here. That's what I like to learn first. And then I like to find the strategies to apply based on where you're at. We're talking in military context, like the terrain, the weather, you know, geography, things like that. Those are the overall things. And then once you understand the strategies that you should be employing, you go into tactics. What webinar to use, what headline to use, how are you communicating with your audience, that sort of thing. So I teach from the top down.
Engineers' mind, when they go to business, they are slow starts, but once they get it, once they, I guess that, whatever that thing is, it clicks, because they've got the background of understanding how principles work and how systems work, they just propel faster than anyone else because they know that back-end kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess if I was going to call it that, yeah. Because one of my business idols is Elon Musk. I think I got that from Ryan. And it's because he likes to talk about first principles. He likes to talk about distilling it down to the very basic level. And once you get that basic level, then you can really start building. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle and get overwhelmed because they're trying to apply something that doesn't work based on principles. You know, they saw it work for one market or one person or one niche or whatever, and it doesn't work for them, and it creates that frustration. But I think that that's where people struggle. And so when I both write copy. When I work with clients, I ask a lot of questions never been asked before. And when I work with students or, people who are learning copywriting, I teach them things that they've never heard before, because it's coming from the top down versus the bottom up, if that makes sense. Hopefully it's not.
If you were to walk us through that kind of research process, what is it that are the essentials that you need to know?
So I've distilled it down to 4 things. I call them the big 4. So they are your target market, they're your target, and this is all one. So there's 3 parts to the second part. So your target market, and then their primal desire, primal fear, and core needs. That's the second part. Primal desire, primal fear, core needs. The third part is market awareness. And the fourth part is market sophistication. So starting with target market, you can break that down into demographics and psychographics. So the demographics are what they look like, what gender are they, where do they live, how old are they, what's their income level, do they own a house, do they rent a house, that kind of stuff, right? All of the demographic data is really important to get an idea of what the person looks like, but it's more important for targeting and for, traffic sources and lists and JVs and affiliates and trying to find those types of places, right? The demographics aren't necessarily as important for persuasion. The psychographics, which is what they believe, what they don't believe, why do they believe that or don't believe that? What do they like? What do they dislike? Who do they hate? Who do they love? What do they read? What do they watch? What does their day look like? How do they think? What do they care about? What do they not care about? That is their psychographics, right? And digging down deep into the psychographics gives you a cross-section of who they are. And now you really, really understand them. I always stop here because that's a lot, and you really can't get a good picture of a person unless you really understand exactly who you're targeting, right? You have to pick someone.
Yeah. You need to understand that process before you can actually do anything else. I think every time I've done a campaign, it's always the only reason it fails is because we haven't done the research properly. It always comes back to that.
Yeah. And so, and that's, talk to anyone. If you could, talk to Gary Halbert, talk to his son, Bond, Kevin, talk with John Carlton, Harlan Kilstein, anyone, Gary Benchavanga, anyone is going to tell you at the highest level that the success or failure of a piece has nothing to do with the writer and everything to do with the research and understanding of the marketplace. Yeah. I know A-list writers who've been destroyed by the CEO of the company that they were writing for in terms of copy, like head to head, because the CEO of the company knew it better. Yeah. But there's a trick there. A lot of CEOs think they know. They've never verified that they actually know. And that's a scientific mindset. Like when you've got a gut feeling as an entrepreneur, you roll with it. But if your gut feeling is wrong, then you've screwed the whole campaign. And oftentimes you'll go forward on that path because you're a hard charger. You do the things that you need to do and do the work, and it doesn't work. Like it just won't. No matter how much energy you push in the wrong direction, it's not going to be the right direction. Which is what just it seems
it's not going to be possible. But
yeah,
I guess is the thing that I always come back to with most writers. They can't actually explain the process, which you've started to do now already. Like, okay, he actually knows the questions he's going to ask. So, you know what answers he's trying to get now. Do you have a process for finding those answers, or what's your methodology for this?
Yeah, so it changes based on the market, because what I'm looking for is buyer data, buyer intent. Also depends on the client. So let's say I'm working with a client who has a list of 100,000 people on his email list, but he's launching a new product that he's never launched before, and it might not be in his target market. Well, now I can't use his email list. I can't go and survey his people. I can't ask them, because you'll notice that, and I've done surveys with Ryan and for dozens, if not hundreds of people now, and like the data you get back from an email list is extremely jaded because they're indoctrinated. They're used to your words. They use your words to describe their problems to you,
which is
and
false
and
a
it's
false start.
tough. It creates an echo chamber, which is why, when you're doing survey style research, I think cold traffic is the holy grail, but it's harder to nail that. But long story short with that, if they're trying a new product line, you can't go to their email list. So now where do you go? You look for buyer data. There's a giant website online called Amazon that has buyer data just sitting there for you. Customers with verified purchases who you can go in and look specifically at what they're saying, what they like, what they don't like about the product. Suggested products around side there, go to there, read those reviews. That's buyer data. That's stuff that you dig into and look and see, where's the current product succeeding? Where is it failing? What are people liking and not liking? How do they talk? How do they write? How do they think? That's where I'll go for buyer data at the first thing. And that's going to tell me a little bit of demographic and a little bit of psychographic. Then I can go ahead. Sorry.
It's funny. It's not just you. I've heard guys like Jay Abraham say, look, go get your data from Amazon first. It's a source of information there that is so huge and so much actual purchases that you can't beat someone who's already buying something. And if you can, data of people who are buying things multiple times that aren't in heat, ideally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, Jay Abraham is a brilliant marketing mind, and he's got it. So use the resources that are available. A lot of people just don't think that research is as important, or maybe they think that they've done enough because they hate doing it. I love research. It's my thing. If I could spend all day reading and absorbing information, that's what I like to do. I understand when people don't like that. And so I've created kind of this litmus test, right? When you know more than your target market, you've done enough research. Full stop. And that's the easiest litmus test. When you know more than your target market, you can stop doing research. Now that requires you to know who your target market is, and it requires you to know what your target market is thinking and knowing already. Mark Ford will talk about the same thing in his book, Great Leads, where one of the questions you need to ask yourself is, what does the customer already know? It's in one of the very first chapters. People overlook that. They go to the leads and read the lead stuff, but that's the most important sentence in that book, because what does your customer already know? If you're telling them something they already know, they're not going to listen. When have you ever listened to something you already know? I mean, people listening to me live right now who already know the things that I'm saying are either nodding their heads and kind of like checking their Facebook, or, they're super engrossed because they haven't heard it before. But if you've heard it before, it's irrelevant. And you don't want your messages to be irrelevant.
Other than research, what is the most important skill as a copywriter?
Research.
Okay.
Other than research, research.
Do you actually need to have empathy to be a copywriter, or can you just be cold-hearted and just...
There's a lot of cold-hearted copywriters. Empirical data will...
Okay. To be a great copywriter, do you need to have empathy?
I think you need to have empathy, but I don't think you need to let empathy get in the way of verifying your assumptions. Okay. There's a lot of people who think they're empathetic and think they understand people, and then totally bomb their pieces because they don't actually know.
Empathy plus verification.
Empathy plus verification, yeah, if you're going to call it anything. But I do think you need empathy. I don't consider myself a cold, heartless bastard. I just consider myself someone who questions my assumptions on everything. And more often than not, I'll have a feeling that someone feels a certain way, and once I dig into it, I might be right on the feeling, but I'm wrong on the why. And so if I didn't hit the why correctly, they're not going to listen.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. You got a theory of why it works, but you can't really hit the points in your copy until you verify that why they're feeling that way, and really start to understand the core emotion of what's going on.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that's why I break things down. So I've got my target market, which is demographics and psychographics, and I just line it out. I want to be able to write a page of their diary. I forget who originally said that, but I think I read it with John Carlton first. And so you want to be able to write a page of their diary.
You've got Ian asking a question here. Empathy, sympathy, support. I'm not entirely sure what that means by empathy, sympathy, support.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. If you can verify so we can understand, it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, if you can kind of verify or explain a little bit, Ian, I'll be happy to expand on that if you want.
Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, so demographics and psychographics would be the target market. So once you've got that, then boom, right? That's your first pillar. I call it the big four pillars. The second pillar is your primal desire, primal fear, and core needs. So the primal desire inside a person's mind, I've created buckets that correspond to the 7 deadly sins, right? They are, it's not dark, it's not, manipulative or demonic or anything. It's really nice because the Catholic Church kind of did the research 1,000 years ago and figured out that these are the main things that people kind of mess up or like really want, and how they define them. So you can break your copy into appealing to one of those primal desires. And we're talking, lust, sloth, gluttony, pride, envy, those types of things. Because those have core desires and subconscious desires that are involved there. And those subconscious desires often, they're subconscious for a reason. A person can't tell you that they're feeling pride or what their version of pride is, but they will take actions associated with that primal desire that you can track and you can monitor and you can check out. And they will have a definition for what they think is their reason, which is the next layer up from that subconscious layer. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I've got a question here from Scott McDougall. I would love at least one example. It's great stuff, but we've all heard these things in theory. We may just not know what that looks like. So if you could dig into, I guess, case studies we go through this, or something that helps people understand what you're talking about a bit better.
Yeah, so case study on which part? Psychographics or primal desires or what?
Research first, so that I guess the overall picture of what you're doing. So,
okay. Well, how about this? Scott, if you're still watching, tell me exactly what market you're in and what kind of product you're going to sell, and I will do it for your niche and industry.
I believe Scott's in dating for Christian men. If I'm correct. Dating
for Christian men. Okay. Let's assume it's the United States.
Yeah, United States.
All right, dating for Christian men in the United States. What age range?
What age range are we talking about, Scott? Yeah, okay.
Not Christian, but not pickup. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that changes things.
40 to 65.
So, all right, 40 to 65 dating, not pickup. Okay, interesting. So I've got a current student right now. I won't share his name or his business because I don't know. I'm not sure how private he is about it. But his business is appealing to slightly older millennial men, probably 30 to 35, who are tired of the pickup game. He's not quite in your demographic, Scott. But the primal desire for his guys is pride related, because they intrinsically believe that they are better than how they currently reflect in the world. It's a little bit of an entitlement mentality. It's a little bit of an understanding that they're not reaching their full potential. They feel like they're better, but they're not. They're not like reflecting that on the outside world. Maybe their health isn't there. Their relationships aren't there. Maybe the relationship they have is not with a woman that they believe is of a quality high enough for them. And that feeling, that subconscious feeling of not being enough, even though you feel like enough, creates this disconnect and friction. And so that's the pain that they're sitting with. We're going to get to market awareness, which is the third one. And that's kind of like a level 3 awareness. They're problem aware. And your job as the copywriter would be to crystallize that problem and then present a solution. But when you understand that about the target market, that's what they're feeling, now you can start to map their awareness. If that's their if that's their primal desire, what's their primal fear? Well, their primal fear is not living up to their potential. Their primal fear is like living a life of quiet desperation and seeing everybody's lives on social media be better than them and knowing that they had it in them and then dying when they're like 75 years old working the same job or not having anything to show for their lives. Like, that's truly deep. And they'll never admit that because they're not thinking that far ahead, but that's the deepness, right? That's the primal fear. So they've got this enormous desire to feel bigger and better than they currently look, right? Because that the physical, the external expression of what they are does not reflect how they feel. And then they have a primal fear of always being that way, of sticking there, of never doing anything, and just like hating themselves because they are there's that discrepancy. They don't want to hate themselves for the rest of their life, right? That's the primal fear, primal desire. Their core needs is a Tony Robbins concept. I think he took it from someone else, but I learned it from Tony. And there's 6 core needs, but only 4 of them, and this is really critical, 4 of them are always fulfilled, no matter what. Like, they're already there. So if your product or service threatens one of the 4 core needs that is already filled, your person will not buy it at all, unless you can somehow show them that you are replacing their core need in a better way immediately. Like, nobody lives without those core needs fulfilled. And so off the top of my head, those core needs are variety, certainty, love and connection, and significance.
I believe
right?
That's Maslow's things that Tony uses, references in his work.
Maslow?
Maslow.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. I haven't read Maslow's actual work. I'm familiar with the hierarchy, but not his whole work.
Yeah, actually changed anyway. So we worked out. You've told us what your end result was, but how do you get to that process? How do you get those answers?
So, and Scott, I'm sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent with my client. I didn't really dig into 40 to 65 because I don't have that research in front of me. But the process for finding that is going down in a line. First, defining who you're looking at, right? Your target market, demographics, and psychographics, right? Okay. So in this case, we went and looked, and we went to Reddit. We went to dating forums on Reddit. We went to people who complained about pickup. We went to people who are like his clients, my students' clients who've come to him or gone to other businesses. So that type of research, going to the existing clients, going to forums where people are bitching like Reddit, finding those complaints, finding those ideas, you're going to start to get a really good idea of their psychographics, and you're also going to start to understand their primal desire, primal fear, and core needs. The best way to do it is actually something I learned from another mentor of mine, Harlan Kilstein, who taught us criteria elicitation, which is an NLP concept where you figure out what someone's really core criteria are. And the best way to do that is to either get your target market on the phone or do the exercise in your head when you're looking at Reddit forums or threads or, comment things, and ask the question, why is that important to you, 3 or 4 times in a row? Because that's going to get them down to baseline. That's going to get them down to the really core stuff. So let's say I ask Joss, what is your number 1 goal right now?
Right now, to type out
with your business. With your business, what's your number 1 goal right now?
Right now, be growth. Huge growth period.
Growth. Okay. Growth. So why is growth important to you?
To forward momentum right now. That's really probably an early stage.
Forward momentum.
Yeah.
Okay. So why would forward momentum be important to you?
That would be, looking at myself, it'd be based on my beliefs and what I think is important to me at this point in my life, which would be
okay.
Yeah.
So you believe that forward momentum is really important for your life in general, not just your business, but
yeah.
So why is that forward momentum in everything important to you right now?
Don't know. It's a good question. I guess it'd be partly ingrained in me because of That's actually a really good question.
Mm-hmm. So this is a conversation that typically you would have privately.
Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to reach that point where you're kind of looking and you're thinking and you're going, what is it? Like, yeah, I want growth. I can mention, I can mention growth immediately. I can mention forward momentum immediately. Those are the things I'm comfortable sharing. Right. But then there's something beneath that motivates you to want that growth. So maybe you're not so comfortable sharing what that is.
Yeah. So you can fulfill your potential, really. Same sort of.
So you can fulfill your potential. And fulfilling your potential. And you start to realize that a lot of these subconscious desires that you can dig down and find. I mean, I found yours in 30 seconds. Now I got to dig further, because living your full potential, what does that mean to you? I got to dig further. So that's one person. Get on the phone, get on an interview, talk to one of your target market clients, and get down there and figure that out. With my current student, we did that with about 5 of his students. Or clients that already bought from him. The danger is that when you talk to people who've already bought from you, they have a different view on what their needs are because they've already received some sort of solution, right? And so you got to take that. Same thing with the surveys, like we talked about earlier. You got to take every piece of data with a grain of salt in its own context. So it's not the be all end all. It's just part of the puzzle. That make sense?
This makes a lot of sense as why you're so close with Edie. In terms.
Yeah. Edie likes to dig down and find the subconscious stuff. I think she's got a real talent for that. I have to ask and I had to learn it. I don't have any sort of natural talent for it.
Good. Guys, if you listen to this later, that's actually a lady by the name of Edie Sang who set up this interview with me and Lucas. So if you want to know someone who just gets core emotions, reach out to her.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, she's awesome. So that is how I dig down and find primal desire, primal fear, core needs, right? And I also not only do the interviews, but I also look for verification signals. Like, I look for action. I look for things that show someone is doing something rather than them saying something, right?
Okay.
I very, very rarely trust a person's words, if that makes sense, especially their public words.
Yeah.
Because we all have that face that we put on for everyone. So that would be how I would dig down there, right? And that's pillar number 2. So there's 2 more. Once you've nailed those down, you've really written it, boom. Then you go down to market awareness. There are 5 levels of market awareness. Eugene Schwartz talks about this in Breakthrough Advertising. I'd highly recommend going and buying Breakthrough Advertising. Right now, I don't know if I'm allowed to publicly share his name or not. If you want to know the guy who owns the rights, reach out to me, private message. I'll get you in touch with him. He's doing another print run. But I don't want to share it publicly because I don't want him to get flooded. So
it's just you and me here, Lucas. It's just us talking.
Yeah,
I swear we're not live or anything.
Nobody knows. So market awareness, right? Eugene Schwartz talks about it, but I think the issue with Eugene Schwartz, I love Eugene Schwartz and everything he puts out. It's incredible, right? Breakthrough Advertising is the single best book I have ever read on copywriting, full stop. But Eugene Schwartz wrote that in 1960 something. And he didn't have any concept of, first off, the internet. And to the people private messaging me, yes, you're right. Yeah. So he didn't have any concept of the internet, first off, but he also didn't have any concept of social media. So those 2 things combined mean that his levels of awareness are a little bit off, right? If you go take his stuff that he talks about, they're not quite on point for the current existing paradigm. And so I shifted them. I would say there's 5 levels of awareness, starting from most aware to least aware, right? And I don't know how much my hands are getting in here. I talk with my hands. I'm sorry.
That's fine. It's all good.
The most aware audience. So most aware audience would be considered level 1, right? Level 1, you're most aware. In Eugene Schwartz's world, that is the person who just needs to be told the price and the discounts or something like that, right? They're the catalog buyer, they're the coupon clipper, that person, right?
Yeah.
In social media land in 2017, we are looking at your audience, your core audience as level one, right? People who follow you on social media, the people who subscribe to your YouTube videos, the people who are on your email list, your core audience, the people surrounding you are level one, right? They are most aware of what you offer, right?
Okay.
So they are the easiest to sell to because they already know you. They already know what you do, hopefully. And if they don't know what you do, then you can tell them very easily because they're right in front of you.
Okay.
So that is your core audience. Level two is the first cold audience that you talk to. They are solution aware, right? So they're actively searching for a solution to their problem. They already know they have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They may not have the correct view of their problem. And they also may not be looking for the right solution, but they are actively searching for solutions. These are the people who they want to scale their business, they want to grow, and so they are they're searching like how to scale Facebook ads, how to do Facebook ads, how to do webinars, like how-to headlines, how-to questions. Those are the solution-aware people. Level three is problem-aware. So problem-aware people, they're aware they have a problem, like we talked about with the dating example. Like they're aware that there's a disconnect between their identity and who they feel they are, or or maybe it's just a problem. Maybe they looked at themselves in the mirror and they're like, "Holy crap, who's that? I need to lose 40 pounds." Right? Maybe it's like they wake up and they dread going to work, or they're very, very aware of a painful problem. They just haven't necessarily started looking for solutions yet.
They know something's not right in their life. They're not sure what it is. They know what the problem is. They just don't know what the solution for it is. I'm fat.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm overweight. There's no way I can actually lose the weight right now.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do that? There is no solution for me. But if you say,
exactly,
hey, well, actually...
Mm-hmm. Well, so a problem-aware headline starts by crystallizing their problem. So, and you can start that with talking about a symptom. So if they're problem-aware and let's just use a weight loss example, right? If they're problem-aware, then they're waking up, they're looking at themselves in the mirror every morning, they're brushing their teeth, they're watching their body slowly increase in size, and then your headline goes, "Hey, does your belt buckle bite into the bottom of your belly?" That means that you have this percentage body fat. And people with this percentage body fat have a 65% better or higher chance of having heart disease within 5 years. Now I have your attention. Right? Now I go into what I want to talk about. I have a little formula that, and it's not my formula. I forget who I learned it from, but attention, interest, intrigue is what you want in a headline or in a lead or in something in the beginning. Attention, interest, intrigue. You have just over half a second, 0.7, 7/10 of a second to get someone's attention. That's it. You don't have 7 seconds. You have 0.7. Once you've got their attention, you have approximately 5 to 7 seconds to capture their interest, right? And once you've captured their interest, then you have about 30 seconds to capture their, intrigue them to make them continue reading. The whole idea that we have the whole idea that we have a 7% or a 7-second attention span is flawed because we don't pay attention to everything we look at for 7 seconds. We have a half a second, and then we're paying attention, and then we're interested. So that's just a little tidbit there. So with problem-aware guys, you need to capture their attention with their problem and crystallize their problem. The next level is desire-aware. They are not yet aware of a problem, or they are not yet aware of a problem that's bad enough to feel super painful all the time, but they have a desire. They are seeing their belly increase. Maybe they used to be fit and now they're not, or they used to be able to climb the stairs without huffing and puffing and now they can't. They don't have a deep problem yet, but they definitely have a desire. That's level 4. Level 5 is completely unaware. However, they still demographically fit the type of person who would be a prospect for your product. That would be the person who has 20 pounds to lose, doesn't think he has 20 pounds to lose, but doesn't necessarily want to lose 20 pounds, but he has it, right? It's there. In order to be healthy, he has to lose 20 pounds. Those guys are clearly the hardest to reach, but most people try to start there. They're like, oh yeah, I can help anyone who has 20 pounds to lose. And that's why they fail, right?
Yeah.
Because you can talk to 1,000 of those guys and not find one person who's in super deep pain or searching for a solution. And you'll spend all your money talking to 1,000 of those guys trying to find that one guy when you could just buy a list of people who bought a weight loss ebook in the last 10 days. So it's that type of mind shift, and when you understand the level of awareness, that really starts to crystallize things for people.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
I guess, the question there is, if you do have the full gamut of people within your target market, do you have 5 campaigns going, or what's approach you generally recommend?
Well, so depending on the size of your marketplace and the price of your product, I've seen... Okay, are you familiar with Kevin Nations?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Kevin and the Family.
Okay, Kevin and the Family. That is a $10 million per year business based on a level 1 market. That's it. He doesn't have any level 2. He doesn't have any level 3. Nothing. It's a level 1 marketplace. So the idea that you're going to need all 5 of these awareness levels tomorrow is unnecessary. Now, granted, Kevin's got super high price points. If you sell something for $97 or for $7, you might need a bigger marketplace to serve. But I always recommend that people maximize level 1 first to the extent that they can, which means reaching out to your contacts, building your social media, doing stuff like this, live video. And as you're doing that, start constructing a campaign for your level 2, which is your most aware cold traffic audience. The people who are actively looking for the thing that you're trying to sell, or at least the solution that you're trying to sell them. That's where you start if you're starting out. Because otherwise you're fighting battles that are harder. Each level of awareness, as you move up from 1 to 5, has exponentially more people, but it is also that much harder to reach those people.
Almost
especially if you're not
a gaming reference there.
Oh, I could.
Might as well.
Yeah, a bit of a researcher, but also a nerd. So the enemies get harder as you level up, and if you don't have the right skills, you don't have the right tools, you don't have the right armor or the stats, you're not going to win. You're just going to get crushed.
It's awesome.
So
resources, tools, make sure you have the right.
Yeah.
Resources, tools, make sure you have the right health points or whatever you want to call it, but basically you need to be prepared for the next level if you're going to go for it. So
level 1, that's your easy wins. That's where people already know you. They pretty much just need to be told,
hey, here's my offer. Do you want it?
Type thing. Or here's what you need.
Exactly. Yeah. Or framing it in terms of hey, this is what I do. Anybody interested? Hey, this is what I'm putting out. Anybody want to join? Maybe some content. Hey, this is how you do this. Join me or something like that. It's very easy, very, very natural, very authentic. As long as you come at it from the position of trying to serve people and give them a solution, then you're golden. If you're just trying to sell them shit, here's my affiliate link, buy my shit. That's not the right way to go about it with a level 1 audience, because then you'll shrink your level 1 audience. There's no point in doing that. So here you kind of see me flowing back and forth between principles, strategies, and tactics, right? Kind of going like that. I have that. I guess I have that ability just because I've taught so many people now and helped so many people through this. But if you're just starting out and you're learning and you're trying to make sense of all of it, start at the principle level. Start at the big 4. Write them down. Right? Target market, primal desire, primal fear, core needs, market awareness, market sophistication. Write them down on a piece of paper and then just go and write it down for your specific product. That's the easiest way to do it.
Let's take a step back and go to that dating example, how would you actually execute it?
Okay, so starting from scratch dating example, I have a solution for, I'll talk about Scott. I have a solution for 40 to 65-year-old men who want to date online in the United States, and they are not into pickup, but they're also not Christian. There's no specific demographic, so it's just 40 to 65-year-old men. Demographically, I understand who they are now, right? Income-wise, who are they? Based on my understanding of those marketplaces, typically they are either on the high end of income, who they are, as in they've achieved some sort of monetary success and now they're looking for a partner, and haven't been able to find one due to that monetary success. Those are the high-powered lawyers, the accountants, the CPAs, the people, 75,000 plus. There you go. So, we're talking about maybe the top 3 to 5% of income earners in the United States. Those guys, now I'm digging deeper into the target demographics, right? Where do they live? New York, Atlanta, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, big metropolitan centers with big jobs that probably require them to travel, probably require them to work longer hours. So I'm like, okay, what do these people want? They want a person who understands that work is very important to them and has been, wants a person to potentially be able to provide for them. They're probably more traditional. They're between 40 and 55 or 40 and 65 years old. So they're more traditional. They're more conservative by demographics, which means they have more traditional values. They may not be Christian, but they probably have views of roles. And so the woman that they would want to partner with would probably have those same views of roles versus, more progressive views. And this is just target demographic that I'm going off on the top of my head, right? We're starting to get a better idea of who they are demographically. Now, what do they believe? 40 to 65-year-old male in the United States making over $75,000 per year, there is a very, very high chance they voted for Trump. There's a chance that they were active in the campaign, but also a chance that they were completely silent and they went to the voter's box without telling anyone anything. They have their beliefs. They're intrinsic. They drive to work or they commute to work. So they're probably podcast listeners and radio listeners. That's what they listen to and read. They read newspapers. Depending on their niche, they might have trade journals. So now I'm starting to compile places to advertise: radio, podcasts, trade journals, newspapers, back of those, like those types of things, right?
Okay.
I'll stop there. We can keep digging and go into target market even deeper. Now, when we go to primal desire, primal fear, core needs, what is their primal desire? Well, in this case, it would be lust if we're going to use the bucket of deadly sins. But it's not lust in the sense that they just want to screw people. It's lust because they want connection, they want love, they want feeling, they want that sense of finding someone right for them. Also, demographically data, statistically, 40 to 65-year-old men who are into online dating are probably divorced. Maybe not like a huge majority, but there's probably a very significant majority who are now getting into the dating field. Scott says, I struggle with what they need to hear to get desired result, what they want to hear. Often these are in conflict, but I strive and lean towards telling them what they need to hear as opposed to, okay, so reverse that. Think about yourself, Scott. If somebody tells you what you need to hear, how receptive are you to that message?
No.
Right?
Nope.
You're not. You need to tell me something that I already believe. You need to get me nodding my head. You need to throw a stone at my enemy. And then you need to help me understand that you want the best for me. And then you say something that I want and then give me what I need. That's how you get my attention, especially if I'm a 45 to 60-year-old male in the United States making over $65,000 a year. I already know everything. I don't need any advice from you. So I am, especially in the dating realm, I'm old. Older, not old, but like older, and I know what the hell I'm doing. So maybe instead of speaking to what they need, speak to what they want. They want a person who understands them. They want a person who makes them feel appreciated for once, rather than nagging at them. They want someone who wants to be a partner with them and like be the yin to their yang, right? And that's their they don't nobody get offended by the old thing. Okay. I'm a younger guy. I'm just saying older, right? It's not an ageist. So
it's empirical data.
It's empirical data statistics, right?
Being the way we are, we look at things a little bit differently when we say things. It's not meant with malice. It's just it's a fact.
Yeah, it's a statistical fact, which means that there's obviously exceptions to the rule, right? So if you get offended, you are the exception. Don't worry, you're fine. So that all wrapped up: target market, demographic, psychographic. Primal desire is lust because they want to feel that connection. Primal fear is being alone and dying without anyone to hold their hand. Just in general, and their core needs are being met somehow. How are they getting certainty? Well, they probably listen and read the same things. How are they getting variety? Maybe they eat out a lot. Maybe they go on trips. Maybe they travel all the time. How are they getting significance? They probably attained a certain level of success in their business. How are they getting love and connection? Well, they're not. But it's filled somehow. So what are they filling it with? Honestly, they're probably filling it with porn. Or they're probably filling it with looking at online dating profiles. Maybe they're filling it with...
That's driven you to find a way to do it.
Right. Yeah. So your core need for love and affection is filled by something. Like, who do you think calls the 800 numbers? Or the 900 numbers? Like, your core needs will be filled. That's the most powerful thing that I learned from Tony Robbins is they're not going to be filled. Like, they already are. And now you just got to decide what they're being filled by and whether or not that's healthy for you in a personal development context. But in a copywriting context, if you threaten someone's core needs that are already being filled, regardless of how healthy they are, then they're not going to buy your thing unless you can positively replace them. And with these guys, right, if you come at them saying, dude, you need to be a more loving person, you need to tone it down a little bit and not be an asshole, that's what they need to do. They don't want to hear that. No. Yeah, they want to hear that there's a person on the internet sitting on this website that is perfect for them, and all they need to do is fill out their profile completely, and you're going to send that person to them on a silver platter. That's what they want to hear, right? And then they need to become the type of person to attract the person they want. Obviously, that in any dating, that's kind of how it is. But that's that side of things, right? And that's just level 2, right? Now we go down to awareness. Where are they at on the awareness stuff? Are they most aware, as in they're on your website trying to figure out if it's right for them? Or are they completely unaware, as in, they're just 50 years old and they just got divorced and, maybe they have this little feeling, but they're, all they do is fit your demographic data right now. Figure out where they are on the scale and then go down to sophistication. Sophistication is your competition. Sophistication is what is currently being offered in the marketplace at the various levels of awareness for your specific target market and your solution. Here's the thing. Your market will span all 5 levels of awareness at all times. There will always be someone in each level of awareness. Your market sophistication will only be at one level at a time because your competition dictates what level you're at. Okay. So real quick, I'll just go through it and then people can ask questions. Sure. Stage 1 levels, stage 1 sophistication is you're the first to market. Nobody has ever offered anything like this before. You are completely new, completely, you're brand new, right? So you can just say that you have something because that's the thing now. Stage 2 is you're second to market. Somebody else beats you to it, but you're right behind them. So now you can say your thing is better. Your thing is cooler. Your thing is more effective, right? Bigger, better headlines. Stage 3 is new mechanism. The market is flooded. The market is saturated. Everybody's making bigger and better claims and trying to outclaim each other. You can come in with a new mechanism that kind of turns things over and makes you the guy now. Stage 4, is bigger, better mechanism, which is the mirror of 1 and 2. And those continue to flip around each other until a brand or a couple brands move on to stage 5. And stage 5 is branding, iconic, identity-based. right? If you buy this product, you are this person. You know, all the luxury brands do that. Some new startups are trying to do that. So those are the stages of sophistication in a nutshell, and a super, super nutshell. But your market's only at one of those points, right? So to give you context, if you're trying to teach internet marketing right now, like just internet marketing, you're competing with Frank Kern, and you're competing with Marie Forleo, and you're competing with these like Lewis Howes and Neil Patel, like these huge guys with budgets that are way bigger than you. So if you think your $7 ebook on how to start an online business is going to sell, it's not. You're going to sell to the person who just got into the world and happened to find your landing page first. But pretty soon they're going to forget about you and go to the people who are at stage 5. And that's not a business model.
You need to come in as the underdog brand in that case. That's the only way you can, I guess, compete.
You have to what?
Come in as the underdog brand. So you're not the big guy.
Yeah, unless someone else has already done that. So, you know, like if some...
Which then you're fighting a losing battle.
Yeah. Stage 5, unless you're ready to commit to destroying the current market leader, then you don't want to start at stage 5. You just don't. Mark Trout and Al Rice wrote a great book, 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. They talk about the positioning, the power that the market leader has, and how to dethrone them if you can. It's very, very, very difficult. There's a reason Pepsi has never been able to do it to Coke. Then they look at it from a big brand perspective, but in terms of a small business perspective as well. You want to go dethrone Frank Kern? You have to go dethrone 10 years of Frank Kern's goodwill and branding in addition to Frank Kern, right? And because Frank Kern knows what the hell he's doing. If you want to dethrone Marie Forleo, you have to come in and dethrone everything that Marie Forleo's done in addition to Marie Forleo. And I guarantee these people, they might seem friendly, they might seem super awesome on their videos, but they will slit your throat in a dark alley because they got to the point where they're at by being very good at what they do and doing it longer and being competitive. So that's just how it is.
It's a game.
That's a game. But
we just got really intense. I love it.
Sorry, what?
I say we just got really intense. I love it.
Yeah. Sorry. So here's the thing, though. If you realize that you're in a big, if you realize you're in a big market, then you have two options. You can either try to dethrone the person, or you can splinter, which is what most people do. You can splinter your market down and go to a different target market, or go to a more specific target market. So don't teach internet marketing. Teach Facebook advertising. Don't teach Facebook advertising. Teach Facebook advertising for fitness professionals. Don't teach Facebook advertising for fitness professionals. Teach Facebook advertising for local personal trainers, right? Like, you see how we do that?
Be the market expert within the subcategory.
Exactly. And go find the category that you can dominate, because it's worth being a dominant person in your marketplace. But there's also ways to compete if you're not and you want to stay in the higher markets.
Well, I think another friend of mine, Kenneth San, he's like, basically, I'm not the best at digital marketing, but the people I hang out with, the older generation who has the affluent market, I am like, when I speak to them, I know everything. I'm the king. So whenever they want to know anything about digital marketing, that's basically come to me. So I act as a bridge, because I guess when you're in your own space, you're one of many, but when you can take that knowledge, that expertise, and cross it into another industry or another very specific space, you immediately become the market expert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So that was a really long answer. I'm sorry. But that's the big four. That's the process I go through for market research. And I honestly think that, and I can say this without any sort of ego or any sort of like narcissism, if you know and do the big four, and if you're literate, as in you can write, and I'm not talking about writing creatively or anything, but literally, if you're literate and you're able to communicate in your language, and you have the big four at the highest level that you can get it, you will win against an A-list copywriter who does not have the big four. And I can virtually guarantee that, which is why I think it's that powerful.
Okay. I guess
So-
a big question here. A lot of people are listening to this. They're going, okay, yes, I understand. This is awesome. You helped someone else go through his profile.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do it for me, or can you show me what's? I'm stuck. Like you've told us how to do it, but I still want to tap into your brains. Is that it? What? I know you mentioned you offer mentoring, or you do some. Do you do any done for you work anymore, or what's your?
Yeah. So right now I have a copywriting mentorship program that kind of spawned out of my need for additional writers. I was getting too much work and I needed help.
Okay.
But I guess I wasn't happy with the quality or the skill level of a lot of the people who wanted to help or reached out or anything like that. So I decided to just kind of like start training people in what I do, try to duplicate myself. And it turned into this mentorship program that now has several dozen people in it.
Well, that's essentially how AWAI started, wasn't it?
I think so. I haven't looked into the history of it, but I think that's probably how it started.
For Aguiar, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, how does the mentorship work? How can people join or learn more?
So the mentorship program right now is in its last live iteration. We're having a winter class. I've done the original class and then a summer class, and the fall class is finishing this week. So the winter class starts next Monday. It's the last time I'm doing it live. It's the last time I'm actually going in and grading copywriting assignments that I give to you, that you write yourself live. Last time I will be on live for Q&As and answering a bunch of questions. Everything I just taught you, the Big Four stuff, that's module 1. And there's another hour and a half of stuff in module 1. So like I break it down.
Yeah.
Like there's only so much I can do live for people, and there's slides and there's all this kind of stuff. So that's module 1. There are 10 modules. Module 2 is how to 10x your fees as a freelancer. So it's basically a mindset shift and then a specific framework on how to have conversations that position you better. We keep going from there. I show you what actually Brian Kurtz and I were talking about a long time ago. That used to be the 40-40-20 rule, where 40% of your success in marketing was your offer, 40% was your list, and 20% was your copy. Now it's offer 25%, list 25%, copy 25%, technology 25%. It's the 25-by-4 rule. So I break that down in a module. We go into my processes and systems. We go into I'm trying to remember them all off the top of my head. The stage 5, like actually how to dominate stage 5 if you want to do it, and become a brand, become iconic. The 90-day professional copywriter playbook, where basically how to build a 6-figure copywriting business in 90 days or less. How to sell high-end services, how to attract high-end leads. All of these types of things are all part of the course in these modules that I put a lot of time and effort into because I wanted to teach people the right way to do stuff. Edie's a member. She's the one who set it up, set up this interview.
Yeah. Jenny, by the sounds of things as well. I guess,
Jenny, yeah.
Look my
Jenny
way, they're not necessarily writers, but how do they, people who own businesses or are consultants, is this a program for them, or is it something more than people who are writers? Okay.
Yes. So I'm going to say that, and obviously everybody listening to me, I have a program, I have a mentorship to sell. So take what I say as the person who made the course and the mentorship with a grain of salt. But I personally believe that any business owner who takes this course and applies everything that I teach and learn and actually uses the resources that I give people, will dominate their marketplace over any competitor, full stop. It's basically like everybody else is coming at it from tactics and trying to learn how to shoot and move and fight wherever they are, and then being the general and knowing exactly what to do in every situation. It's that discrepancy, right? The soldier versus the general mentality. Yeah. I have a lot of people in the course right now who can verify it. I won't name them, various privacy reasons, but if anyone's watching this, Jenny and Edie have already talked about it. I think there's a couple others who are in my group on here. Some of them are coaches, some of them are experts, some of them are authors, some of them are service providers. It's a course that I originally created for copywriters and now have realized that business owners in general can really use it. So that is that program. I also do work one-on-one with clients. I'm very selective right now, so just reach out and we can have a conversation if you want to do that. I typically work with around one every month or two. So
where can people get access to this or contact you? How do they actually say, hey, I'm interested?
So for the mentorship course, I can put a link up underneath this video. I can probably do that as soon as we hop off live, just because I don't want a bunch of voices and stuff going crazy. So that will lead you to the sales page, kind of, tell you about who I am, what I did. Yeah, some of them are doing a really good job too. Crushing it. One guy just started a new business, made his first sale the first day he did it. Another guy quit his job. 2 people quit their jobs and now full-time copywriters. One copywriter kept doing 5-figure launches for a client. Now he's the marketing director. It's pretty cool stuff, but I'll put the link in there and people can check it out if they want it. I just kind of want to stress that this would be the last time that I'm doing it live. So
what does that mean by doing it live?
The content, I believe, is really strong. And so I want to turn it into an evergreen course. But the time intensiveness of the live stuff is the reason why I'm not doing it live anymore. So the live Q&As, the live hot seats, I'm in the Facebook group that we have every single day answering questions, private messages, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very, very involved right now, but this is the last time I'm doing that.
Okay, I've got to ask, just for people listening, why is this the last time you're doing that? Because
it's a time thing.
Okay.
Like I said, this started as an accident and became something that was really, really valuable to a lot of people. And I realize that it's valuable to people, but it's a time thing. Yeah. If I put any more people into it, if I scale the program any further than it is, if I do marketing at all, like if I do a product launch or anything, it's just too unsustainable. Yeah. So, and that's the level of involvement I have right now for this course. In the future, the content is going to be just as amazing as what I just talked about. However, it won't have that live component. And so if anybody's interested, this would kind of be the time to do it. But that's,
it's awesome.
I think that's about it. No fancy call to action or anything. If you're interested, go ahead and click on the link when I join it.
Perfect. Brother, it has been amazing having you on today. I think
cool. Thank you.
You've answered pretty much every question that people have thought about, that they could think about, and it's just brilliant. I just want to thank you for joining us on the show.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll speak to you all next time. I'm sure we've got another show coming up soon. I'll post up my Facebook feed if we're already connected. Otherwise, I'll see you all on the next stream.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your questions.